meeting to order. We'll salute the flag again. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right in my hand.
Thank you. Okay. If you have another one, you can
No, that's okay.
I'm joking. I was with the thanks to that.
Extras in case people need it.
Very much.
Absolutely.
I have my shorts, so I look a little more professional.
Yeah.
That was too casual.
Okay.
Public comment?
Here comes Joe, give him a chance.
Public comment?
Everybody's going on vacation.
Okay.
Just to check.
Seeing none?
Yeah.
New business. Jerry?
I'm not gonna walk around again.
Paraprofessionals.
Professionals, exactly. Just copies. This is the memorandum of agreement. This was negotiated in the paraprofessional negotiation that occurred over the fall. Part of that negotiation was the placement of paraprofessionals on the salary schedule. They were individually placed. What was the people that were not placed were the 3 people that were hired after the negotiation was finalized, and because of that, they had to be individually placed as well. This was done between Michael Elwell and Peter Miller from the MEA, and this is really, it has to be approved by the board. The reason we called the special meeting was it had to be approved prior to the 18th, because our 18th is our next board meeting, but contracts had to be out, or memorandums of agreement had to be out by June 15th, which is prior to our board meeting. So in order to make this proper and legal, we had to have this special meeting to approve this. So I'm looking for a vote to approve the memorandum of agreement as indicated before you, and it was agreed upon in the negotiation with the paraprofessionals this past year.
So I'd like to offer a motion to discuss this item on the agenda. I think that would be a proper thing to do.
Okay, so you're making a motion?
Just to discuss it. I mean, I think that's,
Second.
Motion and a second for discussion. Okay.
I just want to clarify that this is to be done in public versus non-public. I just want it verified because it is individual people as opposed to a group.
It's only their placement, and this is not, does not need to be done in non-public.
Okay. Thanks.
Ralph?
so my questions, the memorandum of the CBA, this regards the email that we all received, right?
Correct.
Okay, so,
Last
if
week that I sent off on Friday?
yeah,
Yes.
I don't believe anybody responded to it. That's what this meeting is all about.
What was responded to is that we would have the meeting.
Right on.
Only.
Yeah. Okay, so the 3 positions, if they were done after the collective bargaining agreement was signed, wasn't that CBA something that we based our budget on? And the budget discussions afterwards during the budget season, didn't we base all of that talk on
Well,
that?
these are not additional positions. These are new people in there. As I said, the individuals were individually person by person placed on the salary schedule. And so that anybody that left and that position was refilled, that person was not placed on the salary schedule. So these 3 people were hired to replace other positions after the negotiation was finalized. So these individuals have to be placed like their peers. They're not an addition. I don't believe anybody's additional. It's just making sure. They're just replacement of people that left in between when it was finalized and today.
Okay.
So that was my question too, Ralph, if there was anybody that was being added to.
Good question, right? Yeah.
3 positions emptied, 3 positions full.
Correct.
Filled.
And because of their different experience level, they were individually placed.
Yeah. Does it
Experience.
increase the lines on those budgeted line items?
That I'm not sure of.
Okay. Would that be a difficult number to calculate out?
Are we going to not hire a very well-trained or fantastic find because that they will be higher in the salary range than someone else who's leaving, we wouldn't do that anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It's a moot point. Because if we can get someone who is really experienced and great at their job, we're gonna take them over somebody who left but was inexperienced and wasn't on the high part of the pay.
There is a point, and it's not moot. The point is the money there to spend? And if we don't take that into account, and I'm not against hiring the right people for the right job or replacing people. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if the monies
like you.
weren't approved, raised and appropriated, this is how we enter into deficit spending, and we don't want to continue to do that.
All right, well, that's my question.
These individuals that are being placed are currently working in the school district today.
Uh-huh.
They just weren't here during negotiations.
Right.
And it's not just the salary portion, it's the benefit portion.
Sure, sure.
And we cannot ask individuals when, in the hiring process, if they're going to take benefits or not. So in the end, that could affect the budget because it's illegal to ask if they're going to take benefits or not. And the person who left may or may not have the benefit, and it's going to change what the outcome is of next year's budget.
Well, I appreciate trying to keep some of that information protected, but in the grand scheme of things, that information is still subject to public review. Just the numbers. I'm not saying the individual who takes what for what benefits, but if the numbers are growing,
The total number, Rob.
right? If the line is getting bigger and bigger and it begins to get in red ink and not black ink, then we're. And I'm not saying we shouldn't hire these people. Please understand that I'm.
Hold on.
I would like to take exception to the point of overspending. This board has dealt with a severely underfunded budget from day one, and we have been on a budget freeze officially, unofficially, since the minute the prior superintendent realized all the errors that were in there. Enough said, okay? And I'm looking at the salaries real quick. This is the first step on a certified one. It doesn't get any lower. The next two are non-certified. Step 2, Step 4. I really doubt that they're above anything that somebody was here before.
But what do you do with that information is my question, sorry. What do you do with that information, Alf? Do you say, oh, you're higher on the step chain than this other person, so we're not going to hire you? We have to hire
We'll
the
leave it
best
empty?
people for our kids. It's not funny.
Hold on.
Going right over everybody's head.
Actually, I think he's got a good question there, to try to get the numbers, just to ask if we're gonna be over budgeted from what we actually have now. I think that's all he's asking.
Yeah.
But what do you do
And
with the
it's-
information, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, so we, well, it's public
understand
information.
what you're
It's
saying.
public information.
Yep.
And in order for the public to understand the process that we're undergoing right now, they should have the information, whether or not they've voted for the right number to begin with, and what they can expect to see as additional costs in the future. It's all about what's going on currently, current
But I
events.
don't think the vote is for specific employee. I think that you vote for a budget, and then it's our job to make it work. So if we get a better para or a more educated hire on the step, then we have to find someplace else to cut it. We get that. There's a limited amount of money, but we shouldn't not hire someone who's well-trained and well-educated and well-experienced because we're afraid that they are at a better standpoint than the person who left.
I want to hear from Jerry.
Really, I think it is a good question. You know, is it going to have an impact? And I think we're always kind of looking at how salaries and staffing is going to impact, because there may be needs that come up throughout the year that we have to address. In regard to the paras, it's kind of a bit of a moving target in some degree, because we have two tracks. We have non-certified and certified, and there is an increase between the two. So while you have a non-certified person, if at some point during the year they go through the efforts of getting certified, we will see an increase. And so it's kind of hard, but I think Jen also makes a really good point in saying that, you know, we have to make the budget work, and when we see that working, we don't want to go in the red, and we have to make sure that administratively and as a board that we're, keeping a close watch on this. But I do not want to be in the position we're in this year, next year.
Tracy?
The teacher and the para is a living, it changes. You can give a snapshot in time and tell the public that this is what we have right now. We don't have a buffer. We all get that. We realize we don't have a buffer, but what you have at the date of the budget, people leave, people move on, somebody will come in, maybe somebody will come in that has benefits. It's a living, changing thing constantly. We get that. And we get that we have a certain line and a certain amount, and if we start to go over, then maybe we can't do something else somewhere else in the budget. It is a bottom line budget, Ralph. I don't know if you get that.
What I'm hearing is Ralph's not saying that he doesn't want the best in the school. Am I correct saying that? He's asking if there's, what that number is, and I don't want to keep speaking for you, what that number is it higher? It may be lower, but what is that number? Just for the public to know. Am I correct saying that?
You are. Sandy should have a chance to speak. Are you ready?
I just want clarification that we do as a board have the right, when we find something running over in one function, to look at other functions and change money from one function to the other to make the...
I agree with that, as long as it's done in public and it's clear to the people.
But I wanted the public to know that we have that right.
We have that
If
right.
If we have
Yeah.
that.
So, and I think the public should also know that I don't believe the school board would discourage
You see that list?
any employee from moving from one track, from being a non-certified to a certified. We certainly want to encourage that.
Good.
And again, I'm only asking, so, if there is red ink, where do we find the black ink to replace the red ink? I mean, these are questions that most taxpayers would want to be hearing the answers to. And sometimes the answers are hard, sometimes they're very, very simple, but it's the simplest thing to do. It's exactly what we're doing tonight in public, not in non-public. We shouldn't worry about that. I mean, and I don't think we're talking personalities. I believe we're talking positions.
No, I just want to make sure.
And just they can answer your question if I may. Where do we pull the money from? If you look at this year's budget, there'll be lots of lines for us to pull that money from. The vast majority of our lines are well into the black. It's a few select lines that are in the red and that we've had issue with. So the question is, where do we pull from? If it was this year, we have lots of places we could, again, say, hey, we're going to be okay here because of this line.
Yeah.
The bottom line is going to be impacted because of some significant overruns this year
Yeah.
in regard to special ed.
But not just special
No,
ed.
primarily, I said, it's largely.
I believe this year we were in the red before September. That's why we had to ask for the 200. We were in the red before school started.
And so I'm only trying to do the stopgap,
Okay.
saying if we start off the budget season spending more than we really have accounted for or asked the taxpayers for, then it's going to be a repeat of something that we
No.
don't want to repeat.
Well, no, because last year there wasn't enough money to run the school. I realize.
That's a debate for another
Yeah, let's
time.
stay on topic.
So, can I ask a question?
Yep, okay.
So, back to what we're supposed to be here for, right? Since we are talking about educating the public while we're doing this, someone want to say why a particular person would come in at step 4 opposed to the people who are coming in step 2 and step 1, so that people understand that?
It's non-certified, step 4.
Step 4 is non-certified, right, but I don't think most people understand steps, and I think that's an issue we ran into in front of the budget committee.
I can do it.
Yeah,
It's the year. Somebody came into the district with 4 years of experience. The same thing happens all over New Hampshire in most of the districts. There are steps. The step is the year. You can also move horizontally if you have a BA or off topic. There's only two ways you can move horizontally as a paraprofessional. You can come in without certification. You can become certified. So if you move over into the certified, there's another pay rate because you're certified, and you get paid for your first year, second year, third year, fourth year. So this person has come in at their 4th year, non-certified, and another person came in their 2nd year, non-certified. One person came in certified, and they are in their 1st year.
Sure.
Just want to clarify, you know, you talk about it's typically placed by the level of, the amount of years you have for experience. In regard to this negotiation, this was not done based solely on years of experience in the number of years, which is pretty typical in steps. This was done individually based on experience as well as the amount of money they were making prior to. So that, again, I just wanted to clarify that if you look at this, you're going to find that people have vast more years than they are on the steps.
Okay.
Who's taking our minutes?
I am.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve this memorandum of agreement with a request. If the motion should prevail, I would only request that the numbers are checked and explained, and if it seems inevitable for an increase in those lines, I mean, everybody else should have the information, but I would really request an idea of where the monies will come from.
Aren't we here? We're here to vote on it right now, so why don't we get the answers to our questions, besides where the money will come from?
My motion is to approve the memorandum.
But I'd
of
like to discuss it more.
Yeah, I'd rather not have a request in it. You can make that a next motion, but I'd rather just have a clean motion.
That's fine.
There's a motion on the floor originally, and you seconded it originally, right?
Which was,
Am I
Oh,
right?
To
yeah.
have the discussion.
And then we had a
well,
discussion.
but to,
So now I've moved along, and I've moved just about as much as I
So I have a
can.
motion and a second. All in favor on this?
wait,
I-
what was
I
the
have
motion?
questions.
The motion is to approve the memorandum of
And you
agreement in
seconded
front
that.
of us.
We had it for discussion. We discussed it.
Okay.
I still have a question
Go
about
ahead.
this. I don't want. So I don't think I'm extremely comfortable without asking more questions about. So if the people weren't placed on the steps by years, are we talking that like it was negotiated where they come in, or why? And how is that fair to the people who are here? I mean, I thought steps were steps, and that was it. I don't care what they were making somewhere else. I care about the steps at Paul School and what they would be making.
Can you explain it, Jerry?
Well, I think it was really determined in your negotiation that you were part of.
But we didn't discuss these three
Correct.
people. This is
So
what I'm
these
talking about right
people are-
now.
These people, on my understanding, were commensurate with the other people that are coming in with a similar level of experience in years. And again, that had to be individually done.
So the person coming in step 2
Yeah.
of track 1
Yep.
has the same relative experience, within reason, of the other people on step 2 of track 1.
That's my understanding.
And that's the same for all 3 of them.
That's my
And the
understanding.
only firm information is that they're either certified or not certified.
Correct.
Tracy?
And Mike Elwell supported the,
Michael Elwell negotiated this with Peter Miller, based on that information that was
Okay.
established in the
Sad to say my motion
negotiation.
fails without a second.
No, so she had one more comment. You all set?
And the paras union, so they negotiated, do the paras all in general have a say on this, or they're all happy this is a positive thing, both sides agree?
I have not discussed that with all the pairs.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That's why it's here for the board, so that the board kind of ratifies this, so the TA on this to move forward, and then the union will as well. So
We're doing our side, they're gonna do theirs?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I didn't know
So
if
there's
it's
a
gone
motion
forward already.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 No opposed.
Excellent.
Could I make my request now?
Go ahead.
That if it should be inevitable, if the addition of these positions increase that line, could I please know that, before budget season? And could I have some sort of idea of where those funds may be drawn from to cover the expense? That's all I need to know.
Best of our ability.
You guys have a tie there.
There was. Bring it.
Go ahead, Tracy.
It's quick. The possibility that a senior para could leave and a brand new one could come in too. It's a
There's all kinds of
living,
possibilities,
moving a document.
Well, I think you'll probably hear, again, it won't be just these three, because there are varying changes throughout the year that may impact that line itself, and then the bottom line as well. And again, based on benefits, and there are so many variables, I believe.
I was going to agree with what Jerry just said. We just had open enrollment, and we had some changes of people changing their plan based on their situation that has happened. So, to your point, Ralph, the whole board, once we've had hired all staff and we are ready to open up the doors, the school doors, a financial report will be given of where we are with staff and benefits, not just paraprofessionals. It could be any level of any place.
I appreciate that.
And so the board will see where we're at,
Yeah.
and you'll see where the lines, where we stand.
That's fair. Thank you.
In general, when you're hiring paras or anyone, is there a standard? So here's the contract as it was laid out, steps and being, what's the word I'm looking for? Drawing a blank there. There's track 1, there's track 2.
Certification.
So, yeah, being certified or not. So if someone has 4 years of experience, should they not come in at step 4, track, whatever track they're on, or whatever, certified or not? Shouldn't that be just plain and simply, this is how it is in Paul School, you have this much experience and you're certified or not, this is what you get?
Well, that's the way it has historically happened, but up through June 30th, the paraprofessional salary schedule had 17 steps to it.
Right,
And they consolidated 17 steps to
Right.
10.
right.
So some of the people who had 17 years of experience may be now placed on step 4, which doesn't correlate.
How does that work?
Well, it happened based on through the negotiation process
Okay.
that the negotiation team was part of, that had TA'd on the agreement.
So do we need to negotiate next time that this is how it is when someone is hired? They're hired with this much experience, they land on this level? Does that need to be?
That's gonna be something we'll have to look at the next negotiation.
That's what I'm
which
saying,
is
is that-
That's a good
years out.
point, though.
But really, what we'll be looking at is my understanding, and you certainly you did more of this, Marie, than I did, so correct me if I go astray here, is that we will be hiring new paras after this point, and based on their level of experience in years, they cannot be hired at any higher than somebody, at a higher pay rate than somebody who has a similar level, the same level of experience in years, is my understanding.
It's actually
And that's gonna be
in-
somewhat challenging, but we'll have to figure that out.
It is in the agreement that was signed by both parties.
So
That's-
basically, they're gonna come in like one step below that?
It all depends.
It'll depend. So if you've got one pair who's making, we'll say $12.70 an hour, and they're coming in, and again, these are just numbers, don't quote me, and they're coming at a certain step, and they have a similar level, they can't make more. They can make the same as, but they can't make more. So I don't think they'll come in one step lower, and again, we'll figure this out when we come to our first para that we're hiring, and have to figure this piece
It
out.
should make it easier, having standards and strict rules to follow. This much experience, certified or not, this is what you get paid.
In most fashions that I've worked in hiring on steps, that's been the case. You get this, you have this much experience, you have this for a certification, this is what you have, whether it's a BA, BA 15, BA 30.
We don't care about that, we change that in the,
I'm just saying, in most places,
Right.
that's what I've done. It makes it a bit more cumbersome and a little more brain power, but we'll
what
figure it
this
out.
does, it should be steps and just 2 choices.
So my last question would be, prior experience in other districts is accounted for, or?
Yes.
Good, good. It should be.
And actually, going to the 10, it's just cost of living after 10 years, which also tends to make things, instead of 17 years, now you hit 10 and you're just, whatever increases, just cost of living, so. Which did,
It should be, I mean, we set it up to make it easier.
right.
Black and
Which
white.
did throw it off to go from 17 to 10, so there would be a little transition.
One
but
change,
ultimately, it's cost of living after 10.
It should be an existing change for people who are here, and after that, it should be simple.
That was the goal.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Did we have a non-public?
It was only if needed.
Motion to.
Yeah, we
Do I have
voted.
a second?
Yep.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight.
It was all that.